how much money could we potentially save switching our business fleet of diesel cars to electric vehicles? That's what we're going to try and answer today, so stay tuned. So welcome back to the channel, folks. JD here again with another quick car finance related tutorial for you. I hope you're all safe and well. So on today's video, what I want to do is look at different fleet sizes. So if you're a business, from a small business to a large business, and you're perhaps considering switching all of your diesel cars to electric cars, we're going to try and work out, just on fuel and electricity alone, what our savings could be using some theoretical examples. Today's video is sponsored again by our friends at GKL Leasing. As you can see, there is a link at the bottom that you can follow to take you to our landing page, and also if you follow that link you will see this, and it's got some general information about the company. You can contact GKL directly. There's some of our most recent videos on there as well. So just a quick reminder, GKL are a long-established national leasing company, and they offer business leasing and vehicle finance solutions. So whether you're after a vehicle from 1 month to 4 years, hybrid, electric, car or commercial, GKL are certainly worth a call. So on to today's business then. So I've knocked up a very basic spreadsheet here, so excuse the formatting, and what I want to do is just look, as I said at the start, of different fleet sizes and how much we could potentially save. So this is not going to look at purchase costs or service costs or anything. In this video we're just going to look at fuel costs or electricity costs. So let's say we'll start with a small fleet of say 5 vehicles, and let's say we're averaging 45 mpg, and let's say our current price per litre of diesel is say £1, might be £1 plus VAT, but you know, if you're VAT registered you can claim the VAT back obviously, so let's say it's £1 for the sake of argument. So that's going to give us a gallon cost of, multiply the litre cost by 4.545, so it's going to give us a gallon cost of £4.55. So if we're getting 45 mpg, that's going to give us a cost per mile of about 10.1 pence. Okay, let's say each of these cars average, I don't know, let's say 12,000 miles a year to begin with. So that's 60,000 miles a year across the fleet. So based on 10.1 pence a mile in this example, we're going to spend roughly £6,060 on diesel. Okay, so let's now have a look at the same fleet size for electric vehicles. So we're going to have 5 again, and I've assumed, looking at various videos out there on electric vehicles, we're getting roughly, in this case, 350 watts. We're using 350 watts of energy per mile travelled. So that gives us 2.86 miles per kilowatt hour, or per unit of electricity. Okay, so how much is our unit cost? Well, I've done previous videos on this. I'm going to assume that in this example we're going to use the Octopus Go tariff. Again, no affiliation with Octopus, but I use them myself. Very good customer service, and they've got a really good electric vehicle charging tariff at the moment. They've got a couple actually. They've got another one called Agility, so do check that out as well. So we're going to say our unit cost is 5 pence per unit. Okay, now it's only 5 pence per unit between 12:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. so you'll only get 4 hours of charge at 5 pence, so we'll consider that in a minute. But let's say we could just plug them in on smart chargers, and we only needed to travel a certain amount of miles per day, so we could take advantage of that 4-hour window. That's going to give us a cost per mile, believe it or not, of 1.8 pence per mile versus 10.1 pence a mile in our diesel example. Again, 12,000 miles per annum per vehicle gives us 60,000 miles across the fleet. So even with 5 vehicles, that's only going to cost us £1,050 per year in electricity, assuming we're only charging at 5 pence a unit between 12:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. Now obviously that might not always be practical. So best case scenario, we're going to save £5,010 a year. So what's that? 400 odd pounds a month. You could probably lease an extra car for that. So that's, you know, already on 5 vehicles we're saving quite a considerable amount of money. Let's change it. Let's go to 15 cars. Okay, again, let's say 45 mpg, same details as before. Let's say we travel 15,000 miles a year on average per vehicle. 225,000 miles across the fleet. £18,787 potential saving. Now, you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, JD. How on earth can we travel 15,000 miles per year if we're only being able to charge, if we're only charging for 4 hours a night? And that's a very good question, because if you look over here, look, if we assume that we are only going to charge it 4 hours per night, and let's say we've got 32 amp chargers, which are going to give us roughly 7.2 kilowatt hours of charge. So in that 4 hour window, we're going to get 28.8 kilowatt hours. So, as we said over here, if we're getting about 350 watts of energy per mile, we're only going to get about 82 miles every night. Okay. So yes, you probably couldn't travel 15,000 miles in a year based on that, but this is kind of best case scenario. However, what we could do is charge for 8 hours a day to take advantage of 4 hours at 5 pence and 4 hours at the Octopus Go daily tariff rate, which at the moment is 13.5 pence. Now, bear in mind these are inclusive of VAT as well. So if we were to charge at 8 hours, our average unit cost would be 9 pence per unit. So if we were to do that, it would cost us £5.18 per charge, and that would give us 3.2 pence per mile. So let's take that figure of 9 pence per unit of electricity and put that over here and see what difference it makes. We're still over £15,500 better off, and that's on 15,000 miles a year. Again, is that practical? Who knows? So I'll tell you what we'll do now. We'll assume we're not going to take advantage of any cheap charging, and we're just going to pay the standard rate of 13.5 pence per unit. Still £12,000 up, and that's on a fleet of 15 cars travelling 15,000 miles a year each. Okay, let's go extreme. Let's go 50 cars. £40,000 saving, and that's based on the standard energy tariff. Let's say you had a lot of cars, but maybe you were just like I don't know, maybe you just travelled locally. Maybe your staff travelled locally during the day. So let's say you were doing, I don't know. Well, we know over here, look, we can do 82 miles theoretically on a 4 hour window of charge. So what would that be? Well, let's times that by 260, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, excluding holidays, etc. That is 21,000 miles a year. Is that right? 82 miles a day. Oh, actually, so we could. That's interesting. We could do 15,000 miles a year, theoretically, based on 82 miles a day. But that'd obviously be 82 miles every working day. So let's assume that you get bank holidays, 21 days holiday. It's about 230 days a year. Yeah, okay. So you could actually travel, theoretically, 18,000 miles. Now, this, again, is assuming you're doing 82 miles every day. So it wouldn't work on the cheap tariff if you were doing 82 miles one day and then 250 miles the next day. Wouldn't work, would it? But in theory, if you were doing 80 miles roughly a day, you could travel 18, 19, 20,000 miles a year. So actually, let's just out of interest change this to 18,000 miles a year based on the cheap tariff. 5 pence a unit, Octopus Go between the hours of 12:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. £75,000 a year saving in fuel costs at 1.8 pence a mile versus 10.1. Now, you might not get 45 pence a mile. You know, let's say a lot of it was stop-start. You know, electric vehicles are very good in kind of urban traffic. They tend to suffer on the motorways, kind of in reverse compared to diesel and petrol cars. So let's say we could only get an average of 40 mpg. I know certainly with my car, yes, it's a 3-litre diesel, but I can't get really anything above 30 mpg urban. So 40 might be still pretty, you know, pretty reasonable. £86,500 saving. Let's just try it again at 5 cars. £8,500 a year in fuel costs on 18,000 miles. If you're a little company, let's say it's 2 cars, and let's say you only travel 8,000 miles a year. Oh, that's 800. You're still £1,500 better off on fuel costs alone if you could charge between 12:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. compared with a diesel car. And who knows what diesel's going to do. You know, £1 a litre is fairly cheap at the moment, plus VAT. You know, it could go up to £1.10. Let's try that. £1,800, £1,700 saving. Interesting stuff. Very brief, very succinct video, I hope, that one. But it does go to show, just by switching to electric cars, even if you've only got 1 or 2 of them, you can save an absolute fortune. Obviously, the more miles you do, the better off you're going to be. Certainly if you could have, you know, maybe I'm thinking cars where they're only used during the day, maybe the pool cars, someone, you know, drops the keys off at night, goes home in their own car, comes to an electric charger. You've got a smart charging facility, so you tell the car or you tell the charger only to turn on, only to deliver that charge between the hours of 12:30 and 4:30 a.m. You're going to get 5 pence per unit currently with Octopus Go, inclusive of VAT. Do check out Octopus Go. Do check out Octopus Agility as well. Agility is kind of a variable tariff which changes every half hour, and you can get smart chargers that will look ahead, see when the best rates are going to be, and only charge your car between those certain times. So interesting stuff. I hope that was interesting, marginally useful. Please do continue to comment. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Hit that bell icon so that you're notified when a new video is released. Do email me here if you've got any general questions about your finance agreements, or if you'd like a copy of the latest spreadsheet. My previous video went through new features that I added on the spreadsheet. As I said, do check out GKL Leasing as well. I'll put a link to that a link to that website in the description below, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Thanks for watching.